What a morning. I woke up pre-market, saw CleanSpark selling off in the pre-market, starting to sell off when the market opened, went back to sleep after getting the kids ready for school, and woke up to CleanSpark up 20%, Bitcoin breaking new yearly highs, and CleanSpark's mining update just released as well. In this video, I'm going to look over Bitcoin, CleanSpark on the chart. I'm also going to touch on their mining update, and I'm also going to touch on earnings. Now, if you haven't yet, I will at the end screen or down below in the description leave you guys their earnings call. I'll leave you the link for the full thing, and I'll leave you a link down below to my edited, cleaned up version that's about 10-15 minutes shorter. And I could have cut it a bit more, but I really didn't want to leave out any important information, but I do believe it's well worth listening to. If you don't want to listen to the full call, you'll still get all the information you need, but it will be down below or at the end screen for you. I highly suggest you listen to it. And honestly, why I think things sold off so heavily yesterday after earnings, on the initial release of the numbers. They missed EPS, they barely hit revenue, and of course we're dealing with a company that's losing money during record high interest rates and has been diluting shareholders. No big surprise there. But I believe that's why CleanSpark sold off. It sold off before anyone even digested the earnings call, before the earnings call was even done. And I'm honestly very happy with this earnings. Now we'll go over what they expect for upcoming revenue in the coming earnings. But you know, they mentioned that Sandersville is going right according to plan. They're waiting for the energy providers, and they will get to that 16 exahash in the beginning of 2024. They also mentioned potential for mergers and acquisitions in the heat of the bull run when CleanSpark specifically is higher in market cap. But any kinds of mergers or anything, we're probably not going to hear about for quite a while. They mentioned that their cost to mine Bitcoin from an energy's perspective is right around $12,000. And they also mentioned the halving and how they're actually really excited for it, and they are working on becoming more and more efficient, bringing their joules per terahash down towards the 24 range. But before this becomes like a 20-minute video, let's get right into this. If you like these videos, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It definitely helps me out. The more support I get, the more I can hopefully do these videos. Also consider checking the links down below for some free stocks and cryptos. Consider joining my membership for $2 a month if you want to show your support. And let's start off with Bitcoin, guys. This is breaking out, and last night we were starting to head out. Turns out this morning we are continuing to rally. We're dang near to 39,000. I think due to Bitcoin's recent consolidation, recent tightening up, you know, just holding right at this resistance, we do have a bit of room to run on the RSI before we become overbought. So if the market allows it, we can definitely get to 40,000. And like I've been saying, any dip for Bitcoin is a buying opportunity. Bitcoin is going to continue trending higher, and I see no reason not to buy on any pullback. Bitcoin's still very bullish long term. We're facing ascending EMAs, ascending moving averages, of which we are above. And it's great news that Bitcoin continues to create new highs. New yearly highs typically bring new yearly highs, just as new lows bring new lows. And like I said before, I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin by the end of this year, by the end of this month, at least over 40,000. I think it's very doable. It's very reachable. We may be surprised, you know, we might head back down to the mid 30s, which I very much doubt, or we might be up into the mid 40s. Either way, you don't want to miss out on Bitcoin. I do think any pullback's a buying opportunity, and if you don't want to try to time things, time pullbacks, you could always just DCA every week, every month, whatever your income allows. And man, oh man, just look at CleanSpark, a 22% up day, huge volume, huge spike. We are continuing higher after that yesterday's pullback. All the bears just came out in full force. However, CleanSpark's Bitcoin mining update and Bitcoin's breakout of recent new highs allowed us to come up and almost break out of our previous top here back in late summer when we headed towards $8. Again, guys, I would be careful here. We are becoming overbought on the RSI. I do think we're going to consolidate here, level out a little bit. Maybe we'll see a little pullback. I don't think we're just going to continue to break out of this recent high. I think we need to establish some levels first before we can have a definitive breakout and head towards $10. Now, I do want to mention that their fiscal first quarter, or the quarter that wraps up this year and ends in December, CleanSpark is expecting nearly $70 million in revenue. And on the earnings they just reported, they have 52 million. The estimate was 54 almost, so they missed that by roughly 2 million. They missed their EPS by quite a bit. I think this initial data that was received is why CleanSpark sold off on earnings. And now that we're running on the second day because of the mining update, because people have been able to digest earnings and because of Bitcoin breaking out of recent highs, those things all gave CleanSpark a chance to run. But CleanSpark is still expecting record revenue quarter after quarter, and I do expect that to continue. And one thing that, I mentioned from time to time, one thing that I've told people is CleanSpark survived back when Bitcoin was $15,000, towards the peak of the high interest rates. And by halving will be right around where the Fed starts cutting rates, if not a little bit after the halving. So even if Bitcoin mining rewards get cut in half, and Bitcoin's only 30,000, which would be the equivalent of Bitcoin being 15,000 in this cycle, CleanSpark would still survive, even if after the halving, Bitcoin was only $30,000, which I expect Bitcoin to be much higher. And plus the fact that we're going to be seeing lower interest rates coming into 2024, into 2025 really, and I see no reason CleanSpark won't survive through the halving. But they do mention in their earnings call that there are going to be some miners that struggle, and at that point, 2024, 2025, we may see some potential acquisition targets. But I believe CleanSpark will be very strong into the halving. We may see a profitable quarter before the halving. And this is going to become a long video, so let's get right to the Bitcoin mining update, and then I'll touch on a couple of things on earnings. And I really wish they would have mined one more Bitcoin, but they mined 666 Bitcoin in November, which is a 24% increase over the same period last year. And this is their second highest monthly Bitcoin production. And Zach Bradford, the CEO, says this is mainly due to efficiency improving, dropping to 26.4 joules per terahash. And as I said earlier, they are expecting even more efficiency coming up as they get the next generation machines. They also saw a significant increase in production from transaction fees, mentioning growing interest in ordinals. And this trend suggests that fees might soon become a larger source of revenue as Bitcoin's use case grows and adoption increases. And just look at their uptime. They have a 99.98 uptime. This is unheard of in the industry. And they also touched on this on the call, and that's why I really recommend you guys listen to that earnings call. And in the Q&A, they mentioned how they have basically repairmen that can come in. They're paid by CleanSpark, and instead of sending these machines off, having to wait on them, having to pay higher prices for parts, things like that, it's all mentioned in the call. But by having their own localized repair team that can basically go in, fix the machines, and have them running back in a jiffy, this helps their uptime. They also have machines on the sidelines. If they have to do something with a machine, they can replace it with an older, less efficient machine if they need to keep that efficiency, to keep that uptime going. This is unheard of in the industry. Most Bitcoin miners are around an 80 to 90% uptime. And I'm telling you guys, these are among the most efficient and the highest uptime. Efficiency in joules per terahash and efficiency in Bitcoin machines constantly running. And this is exciting. They have 2,575 Bitcoin holdings. They have been working on their hodl, and we're at the greatest time for them to do that right before the halving. And they do mention in the call that they're going to focus less on dilution and more on using their Bitcoin to fund operations. But I do still expect some dilution along the way. They're not profitable, and it wouldn't surprise me. And personally, I know it sounds crazy, but I'd rather see dilution than see them sell their Bitcoin, which is going to drastically increase in price. I think from a shareholder perspective, of course, short term, it wouldn't benefit shareholders as much, but longer term, if they can hold their Bitcoin and dilute now, it sets the company up for an even better future. But of their 666 Bitcoin mined, they sold 402 at an average of 36,600 per Bitcoin. Sorry guys if I sound a little excited, because I am. But sales of Bitcoin equated to proceeds of 14.7 million. November daily Bitcoin mined averaged 22.2 and reached a high of 26.1. They also gave an operational update, and they do mention Sandersville in the earnings call as well, but no serious delays have been reported. Updates include steel and roof structures for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Racks have been installed in buildings 1 through 5 now, and buildings 7 to 8 are currently under construction. And once the energy providers gets the energy all set up, the conduit and everything that needs to be done, they are going to place machines on these racks and get to hashing. All right, now let's touch on earnings. As a side note, they did expect a huge increase in hash rate before the halving. And they also mentioned getting to 20.4, I believe it was, 20.2 exahash per second, I believe by the first half of 2024. Now revenue grew by 36.9 million on the year to a full 168 million, or 28% from the previous year. They did take a larger net loss than the previous year. That's partially why the sell-off. At a time with record high interest rates, Wall Street doesn't want to see companies taking larger and larger losses. Now looking at their assets, cash, they have 29 million, Bitcoin, they have 56 million, total current assets 102 million, and total assets of 762 million. These guys are pretty close to book value. And there's a really long amount of time where they were well under book value, just mainly due to the high risk, the unprofitability nature of things. They do have 16 million in debt as of September 30. And they're currently sitting at 160 million shares. This was all based on earnings, but now as of November 30th, the company has combined cash and Bitcoin holdings of approximately 168 million and 14.8 million in debt. You'll see that cash and Bitcoin holdings grew dramatically from the cutoff date of this earnings, and the debt actually lowered. Only 2 months after earnings cuts off here, the end of September, now into November, they dramatically increased their Bitcoin holdings and decreased their debt. Now let me know what you guys think about their mining update. How do you feel about CleanSpark on the chart, and how are you feeling about Bitcoin? Plus, as for earnings, let me know down below if you listened to the Q&A and what question really stuck out to you. Also, the very last question, they said there was no more questions, then they said there was one more, and then they said there wasn't, then they said there was again. Well, that last call was analyst from JP Morgan. But I highly recommend you guys listen to the call. I'm going to go through it again, probably cut up a couple parts and do a featured video more in detail of the call. I definitely recommend you guys listen to the call. It's well worth listening to if you're a CleanSpark holder. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know how all this news is treating you. Let me know what you're thinking right now. And in baseball terms, we're still in the very early innings, and there's a lot more fun to be had throughout 2024 and 2025. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope you have a good weekend.